All right, so just getting the last couple things set for this first live YouTube stream. Um, Hopefully you can hear me okay. Um, I'm just trying to see if I can get, here we go. Trying to get the stream live up on another screen so that I can see if anybody comes in, if there's any chat. Perfect. All right, so I can see the stream. I think there's going to be a delay. Is there a delay? Yeah, okay. But hopefully I'll be able to see if there's any chat that comes through on here. So, um, hi everybody. Thank you for checking this out. If you're checking this out in replay later, I appreciate it. If you drop in to the video, I appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just checking some settings. I'm going to go with that for now. Maybe I'll try that on the next one. Okay, so what you see here is my drawing table, my drafting table. You see I've got some stuff up. I've got some references over here. On the right, I've got some script stuff over here on the left, things that I'm working on. In the middle, we have this picture that I was doing. This is a character from Marvel. This is Magic from the New Mutants, and just had an idea. I thought it would be cool. She is a character who teleports, and she teleports through this dimension that's full of demons, and she controls all the demons and stuff. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool to sort of have her teleporting in and the demons coming up? And so the other night I started working this up, and this is what I came up with. And I went, okay, this is pretty good. This works. And then I was finished for the evening and stepped away. And when I came back the next day, I said, there's something about it I don't like. And I wasn't quite sure what it was at first. And stepping away helped me to figure it out. So what you're seeing most of the page here. I apologize, I can't quite zoom out anymore, but at the bottom of the page, there is a lot of blank space here. All right, so I'm trying to kind of bend it up so you can see. There's dead space at the bottom there. There's also a lot of negative space that I was filling up above her with the monsters and stuff. And she just felt small in the image, and the straight on view was kind of plain. And so I thought about it, and I came back, and I switched it. And the reason I wanted to share this is I've had some folks recently reach out to me on social media, and they've been asking me questions about things like how do you do what you do? How do you do your layouts, or how do you come up with ideas, or how do you work through artist block, or things like that? So I wanted to share this because this is something that I've learned and it's made a big difference for me, and that is I have learned not to become so precious with every line that I draw. So normally I would draw this and you go, this looks perfectly good, and I'm not 100% happy with it, but it's good enough that I could move forward and I could finish this drawing. And I would always look at it and go, it's not quite what I want it to be, but it's okay. Now, instead of erasing all of this, I just went ahead and started over. I said, you know what? It's not quite what I'm looking for. I like some of the stuff going on in the backgrounds here, but it's not quite what I want. So it's time to move on. And so what I did is I came back the next day and I said, no, I'm not happy with it, and I have a better idea. And I did this instead. And I think you'll be able to see, the difference of the figure here. So try to kind of put them up so you can see maybe a little bit of both. So in the new one, the figure is much larger, more prominent. I still have space around where I'm going to be able to put in the monsters and that kind of stuff. We still have the sword in the front. I've turned her head just slightly, which has turned the shoulders slightly, and the whole thing to me feels more alive. It feels more interesting, and that was because I wasn't so in love with this one that I couldn't say it's not right and I need to move on. I need to come up with something different. So that's what I wanted to show you, is that sometimes your first idea or your first impression, a lot of it was there. A lot of my ideas were there, and it was kind of the right way I wanted to go. But I needed to be able to be comfortable enough to go, it's close. This is more what I had in mind. Because I know a lot of people, I see a lot of young people who, when we were doing conventions and stuff, would come over to my tables and they'd want me to see their work, and give them advice. Or I get a lot of parents ask me all the time. My son, my daughter really enjoys drawing. What do I do? And I, all these people, these young people who are starting out, they often do the same thing. They show me something and they say this. They say, "Well, it's not the best," or "Well, it's not quite what I was going for," or "Well, whatever." There's reasons, or not excuses, but there's a message behind what they're telling me. Well, it's you know I'm not super happy with it, but this is what I have. And you know so what I've realized is, and I used to do the same thing, is if that first line that you're drawing isn't it's not coming out the way you want, it's not perfect the way you're looking for, a lot of times we just soldier on. You just go, well, I've already put X amount of time into it, I don't want to stop now. And so you just soldier on and try to fix it, or you know you go, well, maybe it's just me, maybe it's okay, et cetera, et cetera. But no, the answer is, don't be afraid to erase. Don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to fix what isn't working. Um, that's what people do. That's what professionals do. That's what you know we I do, and people like um, I know Jim Lee. This is one of the things I took from watching his live streams a lot. Is he'll be drawing something and you go, for you or me, you go, man, that's awesome. That looks just like Superman. That's amazing. And he'll go, eh, that arm's not right. And he'll just break out his eraser, erase a whole arm, redraw it. No, let me try it in a different position. It's okay. It's okay to make those changes and experiment and try it out and find in the end what works for you. So anyway, that was kind of what led me to saying, boy, I have these thoughts and these ideas, and how I work through this stuff. And people are asking these questions, so maybe I could put together a live stream that people be able to see and check out. So put together some of the hardware to do that. YouTube is a new platform for me, so I'm kind of learning as we go, um, with the best way to stream and do it. So hopefully, oh, over time, and with some feedback and stuff like that, we'll make it better and better, and this could become a kind of regular event, if people like it and tune in, and they can see while I work, because I do draw pretty much every day, every evening, give or take, and so I have a lot. There's a lot of time for me to share, um, and I do think that's important. That's an important lesson as well for anybody who's starting out or young, or trying to get into being a regular artist, and that is, you have to do it, and you have to do it all the time, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. It doesn't really matter. You have to do it. You have to spend the time on it, and you'll notice big difference. If you spend 10 minutes a day, you'll notice small improvements. If you spend an hour a day, in a month, you'll see much bigger improvements. So if it's something you're passionate about, just spend the time on it. So um, what you've got here is the pencils, obviously, for this piece, which I will be inking. And for me, because I ink my own work, I don't typically work with an inker. This is about as far as I would normally go when I'm drawing if I'm going to ink it myself. Um, because there's no point in spending the extra time of putting in all the extra lines and all the shading and the cross hatching and things like that if I'm just going to re-ink it myself. I know where I want to have those things. I've got it in my head. But I was also thinking that maybe I would tighten these up and show you some of that process of what full pencils kind of looks like as well, beyond just the inking. Um, so I've been thinking about doing that with this piece as well. So we'll see what happens here. But it basically, like I said, for the past probably 5 years, I think I've been pretty much inking my own work, um, and so I just haven't really penciled anything what we would consider tight or full pencils in a long time, um, because of that. So it's kind of an idea of like maybe be a good chance to go back and kind of do that and get back to that old that old work habit. So so you can see what I just did. I erased the ear there, so her hair comes over her ear, but I had still drawn the ear so that I knew it was in the right place, which meant the jawline was in the right place and the eyes were in the right place, and where the hairline was going to be was all lined up. And so that's important. And so a lot of times you'll see, I know I do it. You basically draw through the figure. Um, when I was drawing this hand here that's holding the sword, I drew the circle and then I drew the fingers around the circle so that I knew that they were all there. And then I just erased out the line that the fingers were covering. You see a lot of, again, young artists or new artists will not do that. They'll try to draw what's on the surface, but not what is underneath it. And when you do that, sometimes you end up missing or making mistakes with the basic foundation or fundamentals that's underneath that work, and that does make it really hard. If you don't draw, if you don't draw the look in this case the ear, and I just trying to draw the hair on top, and then I end up making it so that the jawline comes out this way, straight up like this, and over here because I think the ear should be there. Well, things are going to be messed up. So especially unless you're drawing straight to inks without any pencils, if you're drawing in pencil, draw stuff you can erase. So draw that ear, or if let me see, I don't have any other pencils to show, but I'm trying to see if I have another example. Yeah, just draw, so just draw through things, and then you don't have to worry about it. So so again, I appreciate anybody that's checking this out. If you're watching the stream, or if you're watching it live, and you have a question or you have a comment, feel free to drop, to drop a line, drop a chat, let me know, or comment. I'm hopefully I'll be able to see it here. And then if you're watching it in review, I really appreciate it. And again, let me know in comments and things if you have any thoughts about things that could be better, things I could fix. If you have any live streaming experience yourself, let me know. This is I've done a few in the past, but it was a little more rough, or I did, so I've used Facebook Live, which is a little bit of a different interface than YouTube. I've used Periscope again, a little bit different. This is the first more complex one I've done. I had to set up some new software, and I got an arm to mount the camera as opposed to using my phone and things like that. So if you have advice or tips on live streaming, on things you think could make this better as I go forward and try to do it more often, that would be very appreciated. And I will try to note, like I said, I've got the camera positioned in about the best spot right now. I may make some adjustments as we go, but for now it's in a pretty good spot. But it does miss just the very top of the page and just the very in the bottom of the page. So I will move the paper around a little bit as I get to those places, so I'm not drawing off camera. At least I'll do my best to try to do that and stay on camera. So uh, in case you're wondering, yes, there is. I did not draw feet because everybody knows comic book artists, we don't draw feet, right? The best don't draw feet. Uh, but there is some more stuff down at the bottom that will be happening. And I'll make sure like I said, I move the page around so that that's on camera as needed. I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. Wednesdays are always awesome. Wednesdays are comic book day, so hopefully either you've gone out to if your local retailer is back open, hopefully you've gone out and picked up some comics today, or if you get them digital, or whatever you do, hopefully if you're a fan, you've gotten some comics today. Um, it's back to school, right? Hopefully the kids, everybody's being safe, and for those of you who have kids or are kids or going back to school, wish you the best of luck with that. If you're home, again, best of luck to you and your folks. It's not an easy thing, and we're all getting through it together. But it's good. Back to school is going to be an exciting time. I always like back to school. It was fun. You had friends that sometimes you didn't see throughout the summer. It was always fun to see who was gonna when you came back, what was going on, what was new, how everybody's summer was. So hopefully kids are still able to do that with Zoom and all the other video platforms out there. And teachers, man, my hat's off to all the teachers out there going back to school. Thank you so much for doing that, for the effort and the hard work that's going to be this year, the extra steps and resources. And man, again, my hat's off to all the teachers out there. Thank you so much for doing what you do. So I would take a second, and sometimes I get asked about tools, like what am I using? So the paper that I'm working on right now is Strathmore Bristol. It is I like the smooth Bristol, the 300 series. It's 11 by 17. So I'll show you the stuff. Right, you can get this at your local art store, be it wherever you buy your art supplies. So I really like that. Um, Again, the smooth. It comes usually in sort of three surfaces. You can get vellum, which has you can actually see the texture of the paper, and then it comes in smooth, and then sometimes it'll come in plate. And I like the smooth. The vellum with the texture is good if you want to do more of that like graphic, not graphic style, but like graphite style, right? So if you're going to, instead of um, doing solid black and white inks, if you were going to do something that had a gradation, right? So you're going to go from dark to light, and and do this and blend it with your finger, all that kind of stuff. That's the vellum is good for that. Um, the plate is very, very hard, and so things like mechanical pencils, um, some pens, depending on the pen you're using and stuff, will actually dig into the paper. And so when you do go to erase, you'll have actually indentations into the paper um, with that if you're not careful. So so for me, the smooth is the way to go. I find that my pencils and pens slide over it without digging in. That's the way I like it. Pencils. So pencil wise, what I first used is this tech pen, or not tech pen, but like it's a type of mechanical pencil. Usually see it with uh, like not architects, but you get it. So if you go to the art store and you go to or your local art supply, it tends to be with more the architecture or engineering type stuff, right? And so it just has these big sticks of lead in it, and I have a one in here. I think it's like I would say it's like a HB lead. It's kind of a middle of the road lead, and I use that for the big stuff. So when I'm doing the big gestures and stuff, because it's a big thick lead, it drops a big line, and I don't have to worry about it being precise. I'm just trying to figure out where stuff's going to go. Like there's going to be a sneaky monster head is going to be here, and there's another one over here. So I'm just doing big shapes like that. And because you can see I'm only using one side of the lead, it's made it very smooth, and so it's real easy to erase this pencil later. Uh, it's not, again, not digging into the paper or anything like that. Then from there, I go to this, which is, I think I got this at probably Office Max or something like that. It's just a pilot mechanical pencil, and then I end up putting in the lead that I like to use, which again is typically a kind of a middle of the road. It's a HB lead, which isn't too hard, isn't too soft. Again, gives me dark enough lines that I can see, but then also gives me uh, uh, it's the ability to erase as needed. I can erase these pretty easily without it completely killing the page. So I'll do that. And erasers. I have a number of erasers. So I've got one of these here. Let's see. There's a little delay. This is called a Statler Mars plastic eraser. So it's a kind of stick eraser that you adjust as you need. So that's good for smaller areas. And then I have these other ones. I couldn't tell you what brand or where I got them, but they're just these white kind of soft erasers. I always use the white ones. Don't use your old classic pink eraser because it can leave that pink coloration on the paper sometimes if you're not careful. And then I was looking for. I can't find my art gum eraser, but I also will use a kneaded art gum eraser um, to if I want to lightly erase stuff, or if sometimes after I've inked, if I want to erase without pulling up the ink, I will. Oh, there I see it. Okay. So I'll use an art gum eraser to erase, and it doesn't pull up the ink lines as much if I have to erase after I've inked. So. Oops. So let's see. Um, what else to talk about? I don't know about everybody else. If you're a comic book convention goer, I would imagine you've been probably missing them as much as I have this year. It's been a little disappointing. I know. I had kind of put a bunch of stuff into into play, so that this year was going to be a year where I had plans to get back out and start hitting the convention circuit a little bit more and get back into doing more of that. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. COVID had other ideas, and so I guess we're all kind of looking to 2021 to be the convention year. So hopefully we'll all be back together, uh, sharing convention stories and bad food and road trips and all that, and enjoying back to that process next year. And you know what? It'll be 2021 will be here before you know it. It seems like it's taking a long time, but so far, uh, the year, well, it's here we are, September. It's going to come fast. That's what I keep telling myself. 2021 will be here soon, and then we'll be able to hopefully get back to some fun stuff again. So I think for the next time, so I don't. You could probably tell. I hope you could tell. I've kind of blew out the color contrast from the camera, just because I wanted the. Sometimes pencils are hard to see on camera, especially the lighter stuff. These sketchy parts that I do, um, and I know that sometimes becomes really difficult to pick up. So I kind of adjusted it to make the contrast and the brightness and stuff so that they would show up. But you can see like the stuff over here next to it, even like my hand is really gray. So, um, I mean, maybe I'll have to adjust that next time and see if it's better um, in more color or less color. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So, um, yeah, I mean, from here, again, I would pretty much go straight to inks at this point on Ilyana. And then, so sometimes what I would do is I would go ahead um, and ink her and then start drawing in the figures in the background, only so that I don't turn the paper into a giant gray mess. Again, you probably won't be able to see on the camera, but anybody who knows, I know from a lefty standpoint, I always have this kind of graphite stain on the side of my hand. Um, but yeah, I know righties get it too. I can't really see, but um, so I would erase all this pencil so that I'm not smudging it around as I'm drawing the monsters and stuff. But in this case, I am going to go on in pencil and I am going to draw the monsters. And I'm going to put this here because I really liked, there's a couple of the monster features that were coming out that I was kind of digging, and I want to recreate those if I can there. And then this one here, down here. It's like that. This one I was going to do the horns on. Here, fill in that space. One there, like that. All right. And these kind of things are always cool. You know, the monsters, you can just go crazy and just, you want them to be as creepy and unsettling and weird as you can. So like rows and rows of teeth on teeth and uh, weird shapes and weird angles that you just don't see in nature and stuff. Like monsters are super fun. Can be super fun to do, uh, especially compared to stuff like you know, cars and planes and motorcycles and things that have very definitive forms and really need to make sure you get those right, because we all know what, right, we all know what motorcycles look like, and if you don't draw a real motorcycle, it looks weird, and people know you're faking it. And that's not a motorcycle. This guy doesn't know how to draw, and it takes him out of the story. So, but monsters can be anything, which is pretty awesome. So kind of something like that for that one. And then this one kind of being like eyebrow thing kind of going on there. Maybe like big sort of nostrils there that go down into a claw mouth kind of thing. Do some ridges down the back of it, spines or something like that. It's got a big like snaky head thing. Cool. This one over here I was going to do kind of some sort of like, it's like a weird bat wolf guy thing. Something like that, maybe. And then I'm going to move the image up a little bit. Oops. So I can see as I'm working on the lower part here. Let's make sure that's going to show it. Okay. That looks good. So this is one of the things I was saying, like with the ear, where I drew something even though I knew I was going to erase it and do it. So the idea is that with the way her powers work, she creates these discs. She calls them the discs, stepping discs. It's this disc of light, and it forms underneath her feet, and that's what teleports. And so it's always drawn right. It's a circle, but because we're looking at it from an angle, it's going to be drawn as an ellipse. And so if I see, some of it here, we've got demons here. We've got some demons. These guys are coming up out of here. So we may not see in the end. May or may not see it in the back. But if I don't draw it, and I don't put it in, there's a chance that I would have done it wrong. So if I put it right, this ellipse is pretty flat here, and then if I drew the back curve way out, way back up here, it wouldn't be right. So the idea of just drawing here, and I'm gonna erase all this eventually anyway, right? All the pencils are gonna get erased when I ink it anyway. So let's go ahead and do it right and draw the ellipse the right way, even though I'm drawing through the stuff I know I want to keep. That's okay, because at least I know I'm doing it right. I'm putting it in the right spot, getting that right angle, and if we see it, we see it. If we don't, we don't. And then there's sort of these. This is all this energy stuff that comes up. Let's see, what is this guy? One big eye, one small eye. He's got like, I don't know if those will be ears or horns or something like that. And then what about, what about like a big toothy underbite? So he doesn't even have top teeth, just all these nasty teeth from the bottom coming up. It's kind of like that. Yeah, like that. Some random hair, and then this weird, big, almost like a primate, like an ape, like a big shoulder and this little arm and this huge forearm coming down into like a big claw hand. That. He's all crouched over, so you're not going to see much else. His legs back here. Yeah, so he's all crouched down. That works. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I know I said full pencils. I'm saying here I can do a little bit on this guy. Let's do. This guy's gonna have one of those weird like Guillermo del Toro monster, Hellboy monsters with just a round mouth full of teeth. And then little beady eyes. So it'll be all black, except for these little tiny pinpricks of eyes inside of this black. That'll be creepy. He's got. I don't want to give him cow ear. Let's give it big horns. Again, right? He's behind the fire blade of her sword, but I want to make sure that I'm getting the right stuff. So I'm gonna draw the horn through it. Make sure I got it all in there. And then erase the parts you won't see. And there we go. And then weird little demon claw hand with only doesn't have enough fingers, so you know it's weird. Not right. Okay. So as I was saying, I know I had said I was going to do full pencils, but I think I'm going to move to inks at this point, and feeling pretty good about that. It is 7:50. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop at 8 o'clock. So I'm going to go for an hour on this first one just to work out the kinks, and then I can watch the playback and see what I need to adjust and what kind of changes I need to make. But really, again, want to thank everybody who is checking it out. I want to thank everybody who watches the replay, and again, please give me some feedback. Let me know what I could do different. If there's a problem with the audio, if there's a problem with the video, let me know. So for the meantime, let me do this real quick. I'm going to try to zoom a little. On the face. So let's see if that works. There we go. Cool. All right, cool. And I'm going to just ink the face tonight before I call it quits, and give you a peek into that. So for inking, I like a couple of different pens. I mostly use these. These are called Faber-Castell Pitt pens. I like them because the ink is very dark, and I like the variety of the pen tips you can get. So this one is an extra small tip, which I'm going to be using for the fine details of her face. And then you can get them in, small, fine, medium, which again are just regular pen tips. But then you can also get some that are brush tips. So you can see it's got a flexible brush tip. If you wanted to use that for large black areas, for feathering, for things like that. You can also get ones that are these large brushes. So it's the same thing, much bigger, great for, again, really large areas you want to fill in solid black. And then they also have some that are soft brush or chiseled ends or things like that. And then there's this other one I like. I don't know what the 1,5 is, or 1.5, but it's sort of a bigger blunt pen point. And again, so it's better for filling in areas than just the tip of a regular pen. But it's not super big, so you can still use it on some of the smaller detailed stuff. So I really like those. I do sometimes use the Copic pens. I have whiteout pens. I use pretty much anything that's going to make the mark that I want. I don't really care. I know some folks are super tied to a brand or a particular kind of pen. If it works, great. And I've tried a bunch, and at the moment, these are the ones that work best for me. And I think I've said this before. I know some people will work. They work big to small, and what I mean is they'll start with their largest pen. So I'll show you the difference. So this is again the extra small, and this one is the medium. So you can see the differences in size. So I'll take that for a second. Okay. So some people will start with, that medium, and they'll do all the lines they can with that, right? And I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that for a lot of the thicker lines, the outlines of the figure, stuff like that. I personally like to work small to large because I can always go in and add thickness to a line, but I can't take thickness away, right, without using whiteout or something like that, which sometimes can be just too messy. It doesn't look good at the end. You got this thing, and it's never the same color exactly as the paper and stuff like that. So I like to work thin or small to large, thin to thick. Um, I know other people work the other way, and again, it just goes to show that there's no right or wrong. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. It's whatever works best for you. But that's my logic behind why I would start with a very small pen like this. And I think most people, most of the artists I know would agree. Um, we always start with the face. Start with the face, start with the eyes, because if you mess that up, it's going to be really hard to save the piece. It is kind of the heart and soul when you're drawing figures and comic book figures and stuff. Getting those eyes and some of the facial features right. And so we tend to start with that because later you can fix stuff. But if you draw the whole thing and you save that face to the end and then you start drawing and your hand it slips or the eyes aren't level or whatever it happens to be, man, you've potentially wasted a lot of time that you're going to have to go back and redo a lot of work just because a couple of very important details aren't right. So, okay. And so at that, like I said, at this point, that's where I want to have the extra small point. So now I'm going to move up from there to the next size up uh, because I do want, and it's subtle, like it's a small difference, but I want this outline of her face to be a little bit darker, a little bit thicker. You can see the difference, I think, right, between like this line and the line that her nose that I did for her nose, right? Uh, but you can angle the pen and how much pressure you put on and stuff like that does make a difference as to the thickness of the line. So you can adjust with pens. It's not the same as inking with brush or inking with crow quill, um, but you can do some. So and then there's also something to think about, which is what am I going to do with this piece? So I think in this one I'm definitely going to do it in black and white, and I'm going to scan the piece, and I may end up getting it computer colored, whether I do it or I have somebody else color the piece for me. I think I will end up doing that. If I was going to, or if I do end up hand coloring it with markers, that would change my approach a little bit. And what I mean is, I wouldn't add as much ink to it, so I wouldn't ink all these lines in her hair. So she's blonde, and the yellow marker sometimes, I know that everybody says, oh no, Copic markers, that's the particular brand and type of marker that I use. Copic markers don't bleed. They do sometimes. The ink doesn't bleed out of where you want it so much, but it will bleed, and it will make the black ink bleed. So sometimes when you have a lot of lines, thin lines over a light color like a yellow, I would leave these lines out. I would actually end up drawing just in this outline of where her hair is, some of the bigger lines, and then leave it, color it, and then come back and actually ink over the color for some of those, to give you some of the strands of hair and the shading on the hair. Same for like skin color. Again, a light color. Like what I'm thinking is underneath her neck here. I'll show you with pencil. So there's going to be a shadow that's under her neck because her chin is out over the top and she's got hair that's coming over it, right? So in theory, there's going to be some shadows in here. And I might want to do some lines here, and maybe some lines like this that would show that shadow. If I was going to hand color this, I would leave those out. I would leave that whole space blank, color in the flesh color, then go in and add those lines. So it's just a little different approach that you have to take sometimes if you're going to hand color versus computer color for later. So anyway, that's my thought process on that, on inking for color versus inking for digital color for scanning. Okay, so here's where I'm going to stop for now. And it's been an hour. I thank you very much for anybody who checked this out. Again, I'm kind of just kicking the tires on this. I hope that there's some interest. I hope people have found it and they find it interesting. Maybe YouTube's not the way to go. Maybe Facebook Live is the way to go, or Instagram Live, or something like that. I'm not sure yet. But again, reach out to me on social media if you see this. Let me know things that I could do better, what you thought of it, whatever I can do, because I am interested in continuing to do this, and hopefully I'll have people who will see it, will start to recognize, will get on a regular schedule, and they'll be able to come maybe with some questions. I've done in the past online, I've done portfolio reviews for people and things like that. I love doing it. I love having people share their art or their questions with me. It gives me a chance to use my background in art education to help people to get better, to achieve their dreams. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Those are my lofty goals for the channel, and hopefully y'all can help me out with that. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's time. Enjoy your Wednesday or whatever day it is while you're watching this, and thank you, and I will see you again soon.